Welcome back to the Going to Match podcast. Today I'm joined by former Everton, Rangers, PSV and Man City defender Michael Ball. Michael is now a football agent and consultant and has a column in the Liverpool Echo. Michael, thanks for giving me your time today, mate, and coming on the podcast.
No problem at all. Hello, gang.
Okay, so I want you to take us back to your childhood and growing up in Liverpool, being a Blue and watching Everton. How did your love for Everton Football Club begin?
It's through my father, my father's side of the family, really. My dad was in the pub game. I was born I was born in Lowell Street, just off County Road there. So that's close to Goodison Park. And then my dad moved into a pub called the Tramways, which is not that far away. So, I was always in and around football fans coming into the pub and celebrating before and after the game. And I used to be like a young kid, so 3-4 years old, sticking my head out the window, watching them all go to the game. And when I got a bit old enough, my dad used to take me down there, and I think sometimes he used to sneak me in sometimes, and then just go to the game with my father. And my dad's side of the family, are quite big. My dad's 1 in 9, and like majority of them all went the game together. So it was like a big family occasion for us all, and all my cousins would be there as well. So it was like a big meeting up point for us all to get together, watch the Blues, and obviously we were successful, at that period of time. So it was pretty easy following the Blues, probably what it is now.
That'd be like the Dogs of War time around then.
No, it was early 80s. The Dogs of War was like more 90s, wasn't it?
No.
So the 80s when we were successful. The 3 FA Cups on the trot, 84, 85, 86, the finals, and winning the league and stuff under Howard Kendall the first time round. So it was a successful period, probably Everton's most successful period. So being a youngster and going there, and
it was easier being you back then.
It was a lot easier than it is trying to take my kids to the games. That's for sure.
Yeah. So do you remember like the first match you went to as a fan, and is there anything that stands out that you can remember from like your first match day experience?
No, my dad always talks about the first game, and I think Everton won 5-0. I think it was against Luton or something, but I was too young to remember. But probably when I got to about 4 or 5, that's when I started going a bit more regular, and then a big occasion was obviously the Cup final '86. I remember getting last minute, I didn't have a ticket, and then one of my father's friends finally got me a ticket the day before the game. So I shot down with the friend of the family on the train, and that train journey just seemed to take, I don't know, forever as a kid. You're like when you get in the car with your parents, are you there yet? Are you there yet? I was like that on the train it just felt I was on the train for like 12 hours, probably had 2 sleeps and still wasn't there, and finally got to the game, and unfortunately it wasn't the result for the blue half of the city. But I just remember the whole, travelling down, meeting up with my family, my granddad, and then going the game and watching them all warm up, and the songs of the Merseyside, both sets of fans singing Merseyside, and it was just a great occasion, and something that sort of stuck with me, that you'd love to be a part of one day, and you dream as a boy, as a kid, that this is what football's all about. And unfortunately for me, it was my dad and my uncles all wanted to carry on having a few drinks, so I sort of got locked in the hotel room with my cousins to wait for them to come back after a few disappointment pints to get over the result.
So do you still go watch Everton now, like obviously as a fan? Because obviously you can go now without your professional career's like done now, so you haven't got your professional hat on as much. Do you enjoy going back to watch Everton more as a fan now?
Yeah, that was. I've always tried to, when I was home, or I was back playing from Rangers, and we'd have maybe a break, and if the game on, I'll try and get the odd one or two. And obviously, because you play, you don't get as many games as you'd like. But as soon as I retired from the game, and especially I got me piece in the Echo, that it made me started going the game, enjoying it again as a fan. Normally you were sort of still a professional. You've got that sort of eye on. You're looking at the game in a different perspective, really, when you're still a player. But then you can sort of let yourself go now. I've got no ties with anyone. I'm just back from being a Blue the way I was as a child, and just taking my children in the game, and just enjoying what my dad did to pass it down to my kids, and hopefully we can be successful, and going with my friends, and all my friends, when he got a little bit older, we all used to go into Gladys Street together. A good gang of us, 8 to 12 of us every game, and I was a YTS at the time, so I'd be at Goodison cleaning the balls or on the pitch with Nev, and then as soon as I've done my little jobs, I'll be running around the front of Goodison and round the back into the Gladys Street to meet up with all my mates to support the Blues. So
did you kind of think at that time, like, this is mental? Like, you've got your YTS and stuff then, but then, like you say, after the games and stuff, you just hang around with your mates. Did you, like, at the time, do you think, like, this is mental?
It just it made me more hungry. And at the time, we probably weren't doing too well. So you start thinking, this is a possibility now. I'm getting a little bit closer. I'm only YTS. I'm only cleaning, like, the balls and helping. Big Nev, who was an absolute legend, and to support, but sort of sharing the changing rooms with him. And Big Nev used to, like, going out and warm-ups at Goodison. Many Evertonians will know that he'd be on the pitch 11:30. They're doing keepy-ups with his shins on the halfway line, and just to be a part of that stuff that I used to watch as a kid and think, he's mad. What's he doing? We've got a game in a couple of hours, and then I'm a part of that with a couple of other YTS lads and James Spearden and other goalkeepers that we had. Big Nev was, he ran the show, so to be a part of it, you just did whatever he did. And then you go to the Gladys Street and you turn into a fan again. You're probably giving the player a stick, thinking, but in my mindset, you're just thinking, you sort of colleagues, but then also in your way of my dream, of my passion of wanting to put that blue shirt on for real. So it's sort of loads of mixed feelings. You obviously want them to do well. You always want them to do well, but then you want your opportunity.
It's like building isn't it?
Yeah, and it gives you the taste of it, and especially being around Belfield. Belfield was, it's sadly gone, but it was a great training. I'm very small and very old, but it just had a great feel to it. The history behind all the the magical players that play for the club have come through them doors, and the pitches were fantastic, and that was always like you're a part of it now, and then can you sort of leave a bit of a legacy and start your own career? That's what you get the taste of it, and you see the massive pros of Big Dunk, Nev, and Dave Watson, and Gary Speed, and all these players that you'll just watch them, and you just sort of stalk them as a kid. You're sort of watching every little part of what they do, good and bad, and trying to add it to your game to make you a better player, as well. But as a fan, it was always just going to like maybe cup finals. I thought it was a bit of a jinx at first, because 86 and then 89 I went. We both got beat by you lot, and then when I was in at the Littlehampton National School, they let me out for the day. Sounds like it was in prison then. They let me out for the day to go and watch the cup final in '95. That I used to share with Wes Brown. So Wes went with Man United. I went with the Everton schoolboys, and luckily enough, we come on top that game, and it was one of them games I didn't really want to go because I thought I've been to 2 cup finals and we being beat twice. But so, luckily we got that one. And a big memory, it probably wasn't the game. It was 1987 when we won the league. Because my dad had the same. My dad's just stuck in his old ways. We go to the game and then you go to the Winslow. It's the pub, right? A stone's throw across from the main entrance of Goodison. And that's where you meet up with the rest of the family, and they'll talk about the game, who was good, who was rubbish. And I was just a young kid there, just sitting there and listening to them all, and probably getting 50p off them, to go out to shop and something, and they wouldn't buy you a drink in the Winslow, and just little bits. But then we won the league, and 87, everyone was outside the Winslow, going through the whole team. Like, there's only one Neville Southall, and number 2 Gary Stevens and Pat Van Den Owen, going to them just singing and being joyful, and that's what you go to the game for. Meeting your family, and then Everton winning things. It was good. So it was, I've been a staunch Blue, ever since, and that's because we were successful, and it was just happy times.
Yeah, I suppose, like you say there, if you win the league and you go in with your family and stuff, it means more, doesn't it? You're sharing these moments together, and the memories forever, aren't they?
It is, and I think that's what, obviously a lot of clubs, you want to be successful, but I think that it helped me be a real sort of blinkered and top 2 Blue, is that we were winning things, and I didn't see like the difficult times. Everything just seemed to be a bit too rosy. The only difficult times when we got beat, maybe when Dagley scored against Chelsea to snatch the league off us, and that was another sort of occasion where So my uncle had one of the lounges, so sometimes we'll be in the lounges and I'll be like the little kid who have to run over to the TV in the corner. There used to be CFAX on there and give everybody the up-to-date half-time scores and full-time scores before the pink echo arrived. And I just loved being a part of it all. And it was just fantastic times for me as a childhood. And I just hope Everton can start being a bit more successful so my kids can enjoy it.
So you touched on the National School Lily Show there. So you went there as a youngster, so you were playing alongside likes of Michael Owen, Steven Gerrard. What was your time like there? And did you know at an early age you'd go on to have a successful career in the game?
I was always hopeful, and I think like many kids that age, it's your dream. So your school teacher will say the opposite. Don't be so daft, which you got told so many times. Think of a proper career, but that just made you more hungry and more determined to prove them wrong. Steven Gerrard never actually came to Liverpool for some reason. He never got picked, which he should have. But there was Wes Brown, Michael Owen, John Harley, Stephen Haslam played for Kenny Lund's crew. We had a very, very strong side, and that was for over a 2-year period. You went to a normal school and you just trained every day with the FA coaches, and that sort of gave me a stepping stone really for when I joined Everton for the YTS, that I was probably ahead of them a little bit because I've had this everyday training that they were probably only having once, maybe twice a week. After their school time, I was getting training once a day, maybe twice a day for 2 years. So I was so
beneficial, wasn't it?
It was very, and it was very beneficial for all of us. I think a few of us all had dodgy knees, Michael Owen, myself, and Wes. I think we paid the price a little further down the line, but it was something you have an opportunity to do. You're going to grab it, and leaving home, they say it's going to be difficult for a 2-year period, but you'd see your parents once a week because you play against there were 16 in each year, so you'd play against Everton on the Sunday, or you play Liverpool the following Sunday. So you see your parents every week, and you just hope for a few more snacks and a few more drinks off your parents, and then off you go. And it was just it's like a boarding school, but we just had a laugh. There was 32 lads between 14 and 15, and you just make the most of it. And obviously the people trying to look after us, they had a difficult chance. But the coaching itself, we'll work on certain situations. And your education of football was really important, which gave me, as I said, a stepping stone for when I joined Everton as a YTS. That it got spotted, luckily enough, very, very early from Jimmy Gabriel, another ex-player, and he was in charge of the reserve team, and he sort of pulled me to one side and got me playing with the reserves within like a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So that sort of helped me, a bit of a confidence booster, but also to show that I was capable of having a go, even though I was still younger than the majority of people around me. That I had the ability, and I just had to try and keep improving, and then just looking at everybody around me, and our reserve team at the time was, it was very good. Personally, you had people like Andre Kanchelskis who were coming back from injuries playing. We had Vinny Sandways, Paul Rideout. So you had senior pros there, and Joe Parkinson coming back that you could look at again, and just take in everything that they're doing. They're obviously not happy to be in the reserves playing football, but they needed to prove to the manager to get back in the first team. And you see how they dealt with that situation, and that just gives me self-education. Joe Royal was there, and it is. And listening to Joe Royal come down and do the team talk, and you're like, this is I've got an opportunity. I've got to impress the manager here, and they impress the manager. I'll be hopefully in the first team very soon, and that's the way I sort of was. I was quite driven to impress whoever I need to impress to get where I wanted to be. So
I believe you were at Melwood as a youngster as well, so you've been trained by the likes of Steve Highway. So obviously being an Evertonian, there's people like Carragher that have obviously been a Blue. Did you know then that you wouldn't make that transition into being a Red, because obviously your passion and your love for Everton?
Yeah. So, to give credit to Liverpool, they did try. They did try very hard to make me stay, and it was down to there was obviously Stephen Highway there, but Hugh McCauley and Dave Shannon were these coaches, and without them three again, they were fantastic coaches. Just pity they were at Liverpool. They were just, to this day I still talk about. I've been to the academy with my friends, kids, and watching them sort of develop, and it's still in that Liverpool system of how they go about the coaching, the sessions, the step overs, and how to to educate the kids, and it's still there. I've got to give them a lot of credit how they sort of handle. They used to give me a lot of stick, but back then it wasn't. It wasn't what they get now. They don't get all the gear, and you get the Liverpool training kits and tracksuits and your names on. Back then, you just had to wear whatever kit you had. And the only kit I had was an Everton kit or maybe an England kit, So I used to get a lot of stick, and it was good banter from them. And then when it gets to like the important age of 13, 14, of signing schoolboy forms, and as soon as I knew Everton were interested, there was only one decision I was going to do, and you sort of Highway pulled me in. He got McManaman, Fowler, Ian Rush to come in and just basically explain what the situations they went through. They explained, look, I'm still a blue, but I'm a red now, but I still look out for the Everton results and want Everton to do well. And I'm going, I just can't do that. It's not in me. And Graham Souness was the manager at that time, and he had a good talk, and he understood. And at the end of the day, he just said, look, son, good luck, follow your heart, whatever decision you make. And he said, before you go, I'm English, you're English, I'm Scottish, and Liverpool, Everton, but just follow your heart, son, and good luck. And as soon as I went home, as soon as I left, I knew, my mum probably wanted me to stay at Liverpool because how good they were and how good the coaches were, but I just knew this was my chance to try and do the dream that my big nana once said to me, you're going to play for Everton in England one day. And I just thought, if I don't go now, I've just given this is my chance to sign schoolboys, to sign a contract with Everton, your boyhood club. It's now. Yeah,
it's like it's the dream. It's every kid's dream, isn't it, to play for their team? But like on the professional side of it, it must have been great for you to have both Liverpool and Everton wanting you. Like that must have given you so much belief at such a young age.
Yeah, I think so. It was like again at Liverpool, it was a great. We had a great setup, and great players. There was Gerard Owen, but there was a few more, good lads who were getting sort of handpicked. Back then, they were a centre of excellence. So you sort of get, clubs all interested around about that 13, 14 age to go on trial and, to see. I think Liverpool have got to let you go. You couldn't stand in the way. The Liverpool have put forward 4 or 5 players, and we'll travel around the northwest. Really, I think Michael Owen probably went to Arsenal. I think maybe as well. But I think I only went to say Leeds, Oldham, Man United, and Everton. And then you sort of wait for a fax or a letter to see if they're going to offer you like a deal. And I think Liverpool obviously don't want that to happen. They want you to keep in house, but that's just the way it was back then. And it was over maybe the Easter holidays that occasion happens, so you get a chance to train for 2 or 3 days to show them what you're capable of. And in England schoolboys, is round about that time, so you go to Keele University. So all the scouts from all the clubs are all there, so they see the handful of all the good players from each club, and they'll pick and choose who they want to bring in for a couple of days to see if they're going to offer them like a YTS scholarship.
It's crazy. Like I just think going on to play for your boyhood club must be just every lad's dream, isn't it? So obviously you go on to play for Everton. You made your senior debut against Spurs, April 1997. What was that like, having been a kid going to Goodison every other Saturday? Was it like a completely surreal moment for yourself? How did that compare coming onto the pitch representing the club to having been a fan going to watch like your heroes?
I think now it's I look back now thinking it was a big deal, but back then I think because I felt like that my debut was never going to happen. It just felt like it took a long time. I've seen other people sort of get the debut. I see like Branchy get the debut, Richard Dunn get the debut, and I was training with the first team all around, and I'm travelling away with the first team, and I think that was down to Jimmy Gable and the managers to get me used to being around the first team players. So when the opportunity does come, I'm not starstruck. I'm not that Everton fan anymore. I'm actually part of the club, and I won't be in awe of the people around me. They're basically my teammates, and that seems like, I can't remember off the top of my head how long that went on for, but it seemed again forever. And I was thinking, when am I going to get my debut? I thought I was going to get an opportunity, and it never happened. And I thought, oh, I'm probably not going to happen this season. And then you just get a lucky break. I'm just sitting on the bench thinking, you know, I'm not going to come on again, really. I'm not going to bring a youngster on. We're having a difficult time. And then, unfortunately for the player, but luckily for me, that they picked up a bit of an injury, Terry Phelan, and my opportunity came. And I'm not a nervous person. You know, I sort of just took it in my stride, and, you know, what's meant to be meant to me. But as soon as I went on the pitch, you know, I was only just before half time. So that probably helped me a little bit more, because, you know, I think the goalie made a kick, it went over my head, and then it was half time. And so Dave Watson pulled me to one side and goes, Bowley, you know what Everton fans like, mate. So go out and show them what you can do, and exactly. put a bit of good tackle in, and you know, get the fans on your side. So, you know, I've never been booked from the national team for the kids, and I think after about 10 minutes, I thought I could fight Ramon Vega, who's about 6 foot 6.
The adrenaline would just be absolutely.
It was, you know, I don't think I've watched the game back, but I probably would have been running around like a headless chicken, really. But in me inside, I was just obviously proud afterwards, because the result was a big result for us. We won 1-0, and you know, it's probably only when you're walking off the pitch and, you know, a cameraman runs over to you, takes a photo, you think, what are you doing? And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that's good. And my mum's got that picture, and, you know, made up that happen, because I would have been a bit of camera shy and probably just walked off. But it's something like, you look back now and you go, you know, that was a massive big moment for me personally, my family, and it's probably more for my dad and my family than it was for myself at that time. But now, thinking back, he retired, it's obviously a huge occasion for me.
There's something that I've always wanted to ask someone that's had like such a successful career in the game like yourself. So when you're playing for Everton, obviously they're your club, you know, a massive passion you have for them. Is it a lot more difficult being that local lad, kind of carrying the weight of the fan base on your shoulders when results aren't going as great? You know, do you look back now and feel you took it to heart a lot more than maybe the foreign players were, because you've been a fan and you know how much the fans care about?
I sort of get, I get that, and but I feel I sort of probably got away with it for the majority of my Everton career. Probably not till like the last season, because I was still a young kid. They'll probably look at other senior pros around me before they'll start, say, putting pressure on myself. But, you know, because I broke in so early, there was sort of, you know, I was only still young, given time, probably attitude. But then as soon as you start getting sort of in the England fold and you start sort of making a career, then the pressure comes on, because you've hit a level and the fans just want that level every time. And being a youngster, as we know, you know, youngsters just don't seem to have that level, consistent level all the time. They have really high peaks and low dips. So because we were a mixture of youth and older players, I think the youth kids sort of freshened up you know, the senior pros around with Kadamachi coming on the scene, and, you know, Danny probably took a lot of weight of it because he burst onto the scene and scored so many, you know, important goals against big teams. So a lot of probably news and pressure was probably on Danny more than myself, being a sort of defensive player. And then probably when we did have bad results, the majority of the time would have been the senior pros. I probably took the hits than myself. But I understand it used to frustrate you when you've had bad results, and you just see how other senior pros react, and it used to hurt me a lot. And then you used to look at senior pros and go, what are they doing? Why are they doing that? And, you know, Dave Watson was great, you know, about it. He pulled me once and said, Mike, if you win, don't get too excited. You know, celebrate your win, be happy. But then when because if you lose, it's going to be a massive drop. Yeah, you've got from a massive high to a massive drop, and it's unhealthy for you. So just play the whole season, and then you can look back at the season and go, we've done well, or we could have done better, and then you can sort of celebrate or talk about it then. But don't be the sort of go out celebrating after like one win, and then you're going to get beat 2 or 3 times on the bounce. It's a massive low. So it was how. There's nothing you can do as a player. The game's gone. How you react afterwards is not going to change the result. Yeah. And that was something I picked up quite early on. Of like, the game's gone. It's disappointing. Fans will be frustrated for another week. And trust me, footballers are even worse. They want to play a game straight away. If they get beat Saturday, you want to play a game Sunday to get out your system. Yeah. International breaks and you've got to wait 2 weeks. You're thinking, how are we going to turn this around? People forgot. And You just always want a game to put in a poor performance and change it around to a good performance again. And obviously being a Blue, it's like it was like a double for myself.
Yeah.
So you just looked at, again, as I said earlier on in the piece, it's just looking at how people around you sort of did things, and you try and take the good and the bad out of it to make yourself ready for the next game. Moaning and sulking about is not going to help anyone. And that's what the managers normally try and do. When you're going through a really difficult time, it's so difficult because it feels like it's false. We're trying to make the training ground buzzy, and happy environment, but you can't sometimes hide the facts of we're struggling right now. Yeah. But you still need someone in there who's got a bit of experience, a bit of steel about them to go, come on, lads, we have done it. Richard Goff came in and, he used to say a lot of wise words to us all, and you just go out there and prove it. We know we can do it because you do it against certain sides. It was just some days it didn't tick for us, and that's the most frustrating thing when you knew you've got decent players around you and we just weren't getting the results. That's frustrating.
Yeah. So you go on to sign for Rangers in 2001. It must have been really difficult for you to leave Everton at the time, but on the flip side, were you really excited about the prospect of playing for Rangers? And because they've got such a passionate fan base up there, haven't they?
No, they have. It was, it sort of came out the blue. Just, I was away, with my family and friends in the summer, and was hoping to come back and sign a new contract with Everton, which never happened. Which is, again, it was sort of like a dagger in your heart. It was really, it's took out your hands. Then you go back pre-season, you get told you're not wanted, and you're training with the reserves, and that's because the situation Everton were in. And that for you to be the one, you're looking around the squad going, look, there's a few you could move on besides myself. My dream was to captain Everton, so I didn't want to leave that club. And the club secretary at the time we always used to speak about the future of the club and me being a captain. So that was my little ambition, and I was very driven to make sure that was going to happen. And
it's been hard,
I had a good season. I got Player of the Year, so everything was sort of rosy. I got my number 3 shirt back for that season coming up. So, I was just ready to go back in pre-season and, and hit the ground running. But then to get told that, that's not going to happen, you've got to, think about yourself. And, Howard Wilkinson was involved in England at the time. He phoned me up, and there was clubs. There was Liverpool, there was Middlesbrough,
really?
And there was Rangers. And, my agent at the time was Trevor Stephen, and he just said, just come to Glasgow, just get away from Liverpool, and we'll just chill out up here for a bit. So I went up, and within like a day, I met David Murray, and he was the chairman of Rangers. And as soon as I met him, I felt wanted, and that's probably wasn't getting at Everton at that time. And it was massive decision. Going back and saying ta-ra to all the people you've known for years, and from the staff and the kitchen staff, the kit men and that, and you're coming away in tears with your boots to go back up to Glasgow. But then again, it's decisions happen. Now you've got to focus on paying back the loyalty of the belief that Rangers have put into you. So you've got to start putting performances for them, and obviously the fans will be excited for a new signing. So you've got to just, again, it was really, really difficult, and my medical, at the time took a very long time. It was very frustrating. I was probably finally relieved that it was all over, that I can just concentrate on my football again, and start showing everybody what I was capable of up in Scotland. So they had a great, great team, great players, full of internationals, big world-class stars, the Boers and Kinnichers, and you're Arthur Newman's a Dutch left-back for many years, and you got to think, well, I've got to push him out. People at the time probably thought going to Scotland, it might have been a bit of a cop-out, but I was probably playing and being man of the match for Everton one week, and I went up to Scotland, and then I was on the bench. I had to sort of, because the manager bought me, it wasn't straight in. I had to go and prove my worth to the manager and the players that, I need to, obviously fight for my shirt, and, luckily enough, got my opportunity, but it didn't last very long.
Challenge at the time, is it like you kind of got that fire back in your belly sort of thing?
Yes, I think. Well, it's a new challenge. I was playing week in, week out at Everton the year before, and that's why I got Player of the Year. But it was sort of like probably early on in that year, I wasn't. So I had to fight. I think we brought in a couple of left backs at that time. When I was at Everton, I think they brought in Gary Naismith, they brought in Pistone, they brought David Unsworth back, And I was thinking, well, that's 3 other left backs they brought in. We don't need another left back, you know. So that was sort of, so I got moved to centre half and probably had my best season for Everton. And you know, got the Player of the Year, but then that probably made me get the move to Rangers, you know, with the scouts watching and maybe the connection with the club and Rangers. So again, you're back into Rangers, and against all these other training sessions were very intense. There was a Dutch manager, the advocate, who was called the General, fantastic coach, very demanding, and you just knew straight away that it's a different level. You know, training was a different level. You're playing with world-class players who are still hungry for success. Rangers were hungry for success in trying to go on a big European run. You know, they were really concentrating on trying to hit the ground running in Europe, and you know, that was one of the reasons why I went there, to challenge myself against the best. And
experience.
Yeah, and you're there again, you know, from Everton to Rangers, and looking at, you know, how Ronald de Boer and Michael Moles was there, Claudio Caniggia, the World Cup winners, how they look after themselves and what do they do, and you just suck it all in. And that's what I try and tell people now. When you're playing football, just suck everything you can in, and then use whatever you can to add that to your game, to make yourself a better footballer. If you're not just your own sort of technical belief, it's your mental belief, your understanding the game, the reason why people are passing. Yeah, sometimes you just see football now, people are passing for passing's sake, but it's sort of, there's a reason behind it all, and as soon as that clicks in your head, it just makes everything so easy. And you know, yes, at Rangers, I'm not playing against, you know, same teams that have got the same level and same quality players as us, but I say to people, it was like when a Premier League team plays someone in the FA Cup round 3 or 4. It's a lower team, but it's their cup final. And up in Scotland, if they play well against you, personally, Rangers or Celtic will buy you. So they're in the shop window, so it's their cup final. So you have like a right winger giving me stick and making it as much of a nightmare as possible for me. That if that gets spotted, that's his big move. That's his big, you know, maybe Scott Brown's at Hibs, you know, and he made a bit of a battle about it, and because he's probably done well for a couple of years against the big 2 teams, you know, Celtic snap him up. We bought Nacho Novo,
now, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's still very much the same now, isn't it? It's, you know, things haven't really changed. It is like you say, you're fighting to play for the top big teams.
Yeah, they are, and you know, obviously there's a few foreign players up there now, but the majority are, you know, are Scottish, so it's their dream. You know, it's their ambition to go and play for the team that, you know, they haven't unfortunately been able to play in the academy level or the reserve level, so they've had to go elsewhere to find their pathway. And then when they get an opportunity to play against the top 2, they're going to give it 120%.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I know. So it was always quite difficult for the first maybe 10 or 15. If you haven't scored within 15, 20 minutes, you know, the standard, the Rangers fans were, you know, the pressure's on, because it wasn't just about winning, it was how we won as well. You know, they like to play total football. We like to play football a certain way. You know, there won't be hardly any, the ball will be going over, you know, over head height. We had to play football, and it was because we had to learn the game. So to learn all that quite early on was, you know, it was challenging, but it was good. You know, enjoyed it. I like playing football. You know, that's the way I used to like. You know, sort of helped my style of play. And you got people who are hungry for the ball, and you have 3 or 4 options every time you got the ball. It made it all so simple. And sometimes, yeah, when we get the 1, the 2, the team sort of heads go down there, you know, and then you might go on and win 3 or 4-0 on a few occasions, but. You have to, you know, earn your right. And you know, it's like when I say to people in England, it was like, yeah, you can go out, but if you just turn up, you're not going to win. You know, you're not going to just turn up and win a game. You've got to put the effort in, and your quality will shine through. If you match them with, you know, the desire, your quality will shine through. And you know, and that's majority of what happened. Unfortunately, I got, you know, really bad injury for 14, 15 games into that season, and that sort of wiped my Rangers career out for a couple of seasons, which was probably the toughest time of my career. Not playing the game that you'd love, you're away from home, and you just, you know, it's just nothing you can do about it. But you know, but yeah, very frustrating. You're in every day, and you're seeing everybody laughing and joking, and you're trying to be a part of it, but you're not. The lads won, you know, a double and a treble. You know, while I was there every day seeing all that, and you know, I didn't want to go on the pitch at the end of the season to see them up because I felt like I didn't deserve any of it. It was nothing to do with me. It was the lads. They deserve all the plaudits, and I just wanted to do it off my own back. And one day, hopefully, if that happens to me, I'll go on the pitch and then I'll take the plaudits. I didn't want to sort of just join it because I was part of the squad. But that made me more hungry. There's a reason why I went to Rangers was to play Champions League football, but to win things.
Win silverware.
So and unfortunately, by the time I come back, the club probably wasn't in the same financials that it was when they bought me, and there were a lot of big managers left, the big players left, and it was a bit of a struggle. I played quite a lot of games in my first season back. I got player of the month in my first month back from 2 years out. So I was happy that I'm playing to a certain level. I'm getting there. But not to win silverware was really frustrating in that year. And that just made me more hungry that the following year, so hopefully the club will bring players back to the club and we can go fight and push Celtic. To that side, I had a fantastic team. We had, obviously Hearts and Larson, Sutton up front, and we just have to start challenging them. And luckily enough for us, that season we won probably the most memorable championship, the Helicopter Sunday, as they call it up there. And that was the helicopter's going one way to give Celtic the trophy, and then we scored, and it comes back. It comes to us, all in the last game of the season, and that was sort of belief again. I went up there to win trophies, and it's a way to be that close. Obviously, fantastic feeling, and we won the League Cup also that year. But the most memorable game up there was probably one I wasn't playing in. The guys got to the Scottish Cup final against Celtic. As the sort of squad players or the wives, I think I probably went with on the coaches. You all meet up at Ibrox in your suit and your flowers on.
Yeah,
like you do when you go to Wembley, and the coaches go to Hampden Park, and they played Celtic in the Scottish Cup final, and they went behind twice. They 1-0, 1-1, and 2-1, and the atmosphere was fantastic. Half a Hampden Celtic, half a Hampden Rangers, and the atmosphere was bouncing from end to end. And fortunately for the Teddy Bears, it's called the Peter Lovencrantz final. Now he scored, in the dying seconds, and they snatched the win and won 3-2. So the whole atmosphere of that, the way that game was played, is probably one of the best Old Firms I've seen as a fan. But being sort of half knowing the players and watching both sets of fans sort of celebrating and going down, the highs and the lows, the celebrations afterwards. Back at Ibrox, that's when I've used to watch the Old Firm games and just think, wow, what a game that is. It'd be great to ever be a part of that one day. But that was something else. It was a bit different than having a suit on. But I think the Rangers fans will always remember that. I think probably Celtic fans remember that as probably the worst cup final for them, but the best one for Rangers. It was just it had everything, the way Old Firms are, fast, furious, the goals, and the fans, both sets of fans being unbelievable loud and trying to get behind their team. And when you're on the good side and you win, you always remember them.
Did you kind of anticipate that atmosphere to be, so like, because I can imagine it's very hostile up there because it's quite political, isn't it, between the two clubs? How does that atmosphere up there in Scotland compare to England?
You can't really, it's difficult because I played so many Merseyside derbies that have probably been very, very poor, to watch and to play in. You'd probably build them up for, say in Merseyside, you're probably building the derby up for a week, 10 days in the local media and the press and the fans getting excited it's coming up. But up in Scotland, the national papers, every one of them, like the Mirror, all the national Scottish papers, they're building it up. It's not just the Liverpool Echo. It's every 6 or 7 national papers that all build, and it's 6 or 7 pages deep on the Old Firm coming up. So that they generate the sort of the atmosphere and the pressure building up for it all. And as a player, you love it because that's what you want to do. You want to play against your arch rivals. You want to prove a point against them. So as a player, it was great. It was a great buzz. You just hope that the fans will behave themselves, and it's just going to be hostile, but a great experience. And as I said, but sometimes I've played in Old Firm games that have been very dour. People say, "What's it like?" I went, "Well, it wasn't that good." But it's because of the performance of us on the pitch more than anything. If we put in the performance on the pitch, the atmosphere goes up.
Naturally.
And it was the same in the Merseyside derby. And obviously, you put in a good performance, the fans are fantastic. If the players put in a sort of, back then was the kicking around, it's a very scrappy game, and it's sort of either there. The atmosphere is not that good, so it's down to the players. With the players, show a bit of magic and start showing through tackles in there, the atmosphere goes up. So but 9 times out of 10 in Scotland, they are the fierce affairs, and when it goes right, there's not much you can beat.
So in 2005, you made the move to PSV. Did you have offers from other clubs in the UK then, or was playing abroad something you always wanted to try?
Well, playing abroad was always quite very early on, not in my head, but in offers from the club. Like Roma were always looking at me when I was at Everton Football Club, and I always think, why Roma? Why would I go to Italy? But it was I think my style was more foreign back then.
You've been a left back as well.
Yeah, I was left back and left at 3 as well, and it was just probably the way I played, and it's always been spoke about, but it's never been in my ambition at all, really. I've always just thought, my ambition was always to stay in Everton for the rest of my career. I never thought of anything else. But unfortunately, again, the Rangers situation come to the halt where I had to move on. And spoke to Graham Souness, who was at Newcastle at the time, but I agreed. Birmingham decided Nicky Butt, and I agreed with Steve Bruce to go to Birmingham. But then I think it was like my agent did, and it was like a 3-year deal. But then I think the owner went away. I think he went on holiday in the mountains, and no one could get hold of him to finalise if everything was okay.
That's handy.
And on the last day of the transfer, I was basically sitting in my house in Glasgow thinking, what's happening? And the agent turned up and said, Birmingham have said, yeah, the deal's on, but it's only 1 year. I was like, what am I going to do now? So I had a choice, really. I had, a big choice I knew I wouldn't be able to play at Rangers. So, being up in Scotland and not playing football, the year before at Rangers, they had a contract problem, and I was paying $4,000 just to play, just to get back in the fold, to get me back in the picture for the clubs to come in and take me away. So when Birmingham come in, I thought, well, I've got to go to Birmingham, prove a point. And on the way to the airport, Gus Hiddink phoned me mobile, and I wouldn't have normally answered it. I just thought it was a weird number. For some reason, I answered the phone, and it was Gus Hiddink, and he spoke to people at the club. He's seen me games that we played in the Champions League against another Dutch team a few weeks earlier.
Yeah.
They just they got to the semi-finals against AC Milan in 2005. They should have beat AC Milan. AC Milan scored an away goal to play Liverpool in the final. That sort of knocked PSV out, and they sold their left back then to Tottenham. So they needed to fill that gap, and he made that call, and he said all the right things, and about improving me, develop me as a player still, and hopefully get me back in the England team. And so he said everything. So I put the phone down and said, Trevor, I think have you spoken to PSG? And he said, PSV, and he said, no, they wanted you on loan, but the Rangers said that's a no-go. And he said, oh no, he's talking about signing me. And he goes, well, let's get to the airport because I'm driving. And then he just said, look, yeah, it's right, it's on. So what do you want to do? And I went, well, got a chance to play for PSV, Champions League, I'm off. So that was it then. And then again, it was obviously different culture. But the training was similar to what I was used to, because obviously when I was signed at Rangers, I was Advocat, and Jan Wouters was one of the coaches, and so I knew the Dutch way of training. So it was just trying to learn the language and integrate and show everyone what I was capable of. It was very family orientated club. Obviously with Phillips being the owner, he'll be around going to the games, and the training ground would be open for fans. So there'd be a couple of hundred people every day. In and around, just having a coffee and watching you train. So it was very relaxed atmosphere, but you had to perform, and it was a similar pressure that it was at Rangers. Yet you're one of the better teams in the league, but you've got to perform. You've got to perform well, and you've got to perform at a certain standard.
Yeah, the pressure
to win games. And the year before they had a successful year, so they wanted to go again. So yeah, I was it was nice they reached out to me to fill that gap and to push on, but unfortunately I was cut tied because back then, because I played the earlier Champions League qualifiers with Rangers, that they wouldn't allow it. The Rangers went to the next bit, so it was that was disappointing. But we won the league pretty convincingly, and we got to the cup final, and we unfortunately got beat last minute against Ajax. So it was a successful first year, and I enjoyed it. There was people over there. Danny had a match here from Everton. He knew somebody, so I used to meet them and just relax in the meantime. But the players, Clive was joining. There was Philip Cocu, captain of Barcelona for so many years. Alex was the centre half who went to Chelsea after a couple of years, and Gomez, the goalkeeper, the Farfan up front, and Aruna Kone, who used to sit next to, and then he obviously signed for Everton a few years later on. So it was, the way the Dutch went about things was, I get it. I had a lot to learn because it was sort of opposite the way I've been brought up, say the English FA way. The Dutch have their own way. So it was a learning curve, but it was something that I'm great to see now. Kids going abroad, young players going abroad to open their minds, because I think it'll help us English players internationally as well, knowing how other teams think and how other teams go about things. We've probably been so single-minded, thinking England is the best and we are the best, we're doing things the right way, but unfortunately, international level, we're failing.
Yeah.
That
was something I was going to touch on, because you look at people like Jadon Sancho, who's gone to Dortmund now. Do you think it is really beneficial for these players to move abroad and kind of hit the reset button, really, and learn?
Yeah, well, they're obviously very, very good players to go to these teams. They're not going to small teams abroad. They're going to top, massive European clubs who are, doing well in Europe year after year. But that's going to develop them. They've been at, Chanto, you say he's been at Manchester City learning his trade. He knows everything of the England sort of way. But now the Germans are going to put a bit of extra to him. So that's going to bring his whole round football brain and his ability much better. And then that's going to help England in the, going to these European Championships and these World Cups. You just hope that so many going away. I went away abroad when it wasn't fashionable. But I always said it, it did help me when I moved back to England of how to look after the lads in the changing room for them. How to go about different. When I was at Everton, I was a young kid. There was foreigners, but I didn't think it was my job to say hello to, or not say hello to them, but to, how you're settling in. The family okay. I was probably too dedicated on myself and focused on myself. Yeah, and it was up to, and probably England wasn't ready for the influx of so many foreigners at that time. Yeah. We're going away to Holland and they see the Marios and Ronaldos all coming up and they all settle in. You're thinking, well, if they can settle in coming from Brazil and come and leaving this club as legends, they're obviously doing something right. And we had different cultures. There was the South Americans couldn't speak English or Dutch. I couldn't speak South American. We had like a mixed table where there was a couple of English lads, like an Australian American guy, be on my table. A couple of Dutch lads who could speak English, but football's all one language, and it's all about your coaching staff, and how they go about it and training, and spending time on that pitch. And then when you see it on Saturday, it just all clicks. It's just because of the ability of the players around you, but also down to the coaching. There's no excuses. I think England used to try and find excuses. Probably back in my day earlier on, go, well, they need time to settle, or they need to learn the language to play football. I think that's just an excuse, a bit of a cop out, really. Good players find a way of playing well together, and that's just all down to your coach and your manager, I feel.
Yeah. So you go and join Man City in January 2007. You go and make 63 appearances for the club. How do you look back now at your time at City? Because I think towards the end of your career at City, Sheikh Mansour buys the club. So what was that like being at the club, knowing a lot of money was going to be pumped into it?
Well, I was at City for, say, three and a half years. Was it 3 years? And there was sort of three different managers, three different owners. Obviously, when I first went, Stuart Pearce there, they couldn't really, the club were probably in a bit of a bad way, sort of fighting relegation and money problems off the pitch. And then Shinawatson, the Thailand president, he bought the club in the summer and promised a lot of money. You know, he promised he's going to be, I think he's probably £2 billion. He promised to spend on the club. So that year, when he brought Sven, he was talking about building academies all around the world, and having mini Man Cities all around the world. Probably what Man City are doing now. That was sort of that was his dream of what he wanted to do. And we brought in a lot of players. Sven come in very late. I think we bought 9 players in a week before the season. But we started really well. You know, we were probably second, third, and fourth, probably all the way up to Christmas, and we just faded away after January through one reason or another. I feel it's down to, I can't blame the foreigners, because the foreigners the one who got us there. It was just them first year in playing in England, playing over Christmas. They've never done before. Like Alano, they're flying to Brazil.
He was fantastic. And then
you know, he's a great player, but he's flying to Brazil, being our best player, and then coming back from Brazil, say Friday morning, then we're expecting him to be, you know,
on the game,
10 out of 10 again. So over the period of time, you know, that's going to take its toll. And they were so technical about Giovanni, Alano, Petrov in front of me, great players. And when they were probably dipping in form, well, probably not dipping in form, but just the rest of us weren't good enough to carry them. You know, they carried us to keep us up to that table, but then the rest of us probably couldn't, you know, keep up when they probably wanted a bit of backing themselves. We just started fading away. We got Europe, the fair play, but we're still Europe. But it was just a disappointing end. The way it sort of started so rosy, the pressure on Sven. Again, Sven being Sven, the media just absolutely loved him. So a lot of our games were on the Sunday, all on the eyes of the world were all on Sven, and he took it in his stride. But it gave us that opportunity to go out and for us to focus on our football. The pressure was more on Sven than it was the players. And then obviously disappointing Sven left because for one reason or the Tyona wasn't happy with how it finished. And then they found out, you know, the money was frozen. You know, they didn't have any money. You know, the money was, what was promised was not there. And then Sheikh Mashur come in. And then Mark Hughes came in, and then for myself, it was again another reset button. Sven, I missed out there. Sorry, when he's buying the players, you know, he said to players so you go players, if you want to move on, you know, I'll help you move on. If you want to fight for your shirt. And you know, I knew Sven was going to bring in a left back, but I was ready to have a fight and have an opportunity to show what I was. And you know, Yavi did well for a while, but you know, Sven promised me that he'll give me an opportunity. He promised the 3 goalkeepers. There was Isaacson, who was the number 1. There was Castor Schmeichel, who did really well for 6 games. He promised everyone 6 games, and he'd pick who's the best. And you know, history tells itself. Obviously, Joe Hart kept the shirt, but he could have kept Casper Schmeichel in because he did nothing wrong for the 6 games he was involved. But Sven was just man of his word, and I got my opportunity, and then the shirt was mine then for me to lose. And then when Mark Hughes came in, again, promised them more money, new owner, we're thinking, oh, here we go again. You know, is this real? You know, we probably took it with a bit of a pinch of salt, really, thinking, oh, here's another owner with some money. And probably didn't take it too serious until we start seeing the names that we were getting linked with. You know, you see Robinho coming in. They were getting linked with Kaka. Kaka was verbally agreed to come with us, but he had to change of heart last minute. So then you're thinking, wow, this is real. You know, this is real. But for myself, I'm thinking, let's not get sucked up. I need to, you know, I've only got a year to prove to Mark Hughes that, you know, I deserve to be here. I want to win another contract. So it was all down to me, you know, for me being selfish myself to start putting performances in. You know, which I thought they did really well. There was talks of new contracts happening. And then just after the Christmas break, playing so many games over the Christmas period, sadly, my knee, you know, just could not handle the games after game. Probably sort of didn't really get looked after properly. You know, normally you play a game on a Saturday, you chill out for a couple of days, but you're playing football, you're playing the Premier, you're playing a high standard. The doctors are telling you not to, but you're thinking, well, I'm still playing at a good level. I'm still getting a couple of Man of the Match awards, you know, so it can't be that bad. But then, unfortunately, it sort of blows up on you, and then you're back on a treatment table, and you're getting a "I told you so, what you doing" type telling off by the surgeons. And unfortunately, that was my career at City over. You out for a good period of time. Obviously, Mark Hughes was not going to then not give me a contract, and I was just have to go in and being around the City lads as all these big players started coming in. I think Lescott was probably the biggest one. Came in just before I left for the last time, but you could just see it was real. The changing room sort of got on a revamp. The club got a revamp, and it was just gone from one level to another level again within a couple of years. And you just knew that these guys were serious, and one day they're going to be a force for Manchester United and everybody else in the league. And they have gone about it an expensive way, but it's a way that if you're a City fan, you're probably loving every bit of it.
What was the sort of like the camaraderie and the dressing room and stuff like at Man City then compared to being at Everton and Rangers? Because I can imagine, if I try and put myself in your shoes, all these players are coming in, signing from some massive teams, your Alanos, Petrovs, etc. Different nationalities, different characters. Was it like a happy dressing room, or was it something that you hadn't experienced before?
No, it was something it was different, but it happens majority of the year, especially in Holland. Holland do normally do a merry-go-round of players. Maybe every couple of years they do successful, and then the players move on. They end up going to the biggest leagues in the world. Go to Spain, England, and Italy, and then they sort of start again, and then they develop a couple of more. So I've been around a lot of changes, but probably the Man City one. It was probably the level of the players walking in. Mm-hmm. So many of them. Tevez coming in. You're thinking, Robinho's coming in. You're going, it wasn't just a number. They were world-class players coming in who were hungry. Obviously getting, good contracts to come to the club, but they were hungry because the pressure was on them to put the club to another level. They've been sold the dream of what the club wanted to be, but it's up to them to go out on the pitch and deliver. And you're going to get the ones who can rise to the occasion, and you get some ones that just the pressure gets too much for them. But you could just see that the club were doing everything possibly they can, it's obviously just about winning silverware for the sleeping giants of Manchester City, and then when you see so many big players coming in, you just then that's when you sort of knew that this is real. This is happening. It's not what happened the year before with the Thailand owner, and you're just thinking, who else was coming? You're probably looking, thinking, who else is like stars in their eyes? Who's coming through this door now? And it was great. It's good, Craig Bellamy coming in, and it was different because everyone made training a lot. Mark Hughes, the good thing about Mark Hughes, that his training sessions were intense. So it got that sort of competitiveness is around us. There's better quality around you, but you've still got to show what you're all about to get that share to the weekend. So it just took training to another whole level again from what it was the previous years. And you see City what they've done in the last 10 years or so, and they're still never going to be happy until they've got more silverware, and obviously the Champions League is what they're crying out for, and the one that they've always wanted. And I feel they've had a lot of bad luck in that competition, but you need it in cup competitions. You need the ability, you need the hunger for your players, but you also you need your luck at times, and sometimes you've got to make your own luck. But it won't be long until they'll have a Champions League. I think them owners are hungry for it, so they'll stop at nothing till they get it.
Yeah. So now you're a football agent, but you've also got a column in the Liverpool Echo as well. Are both of those roles something that you've always known you've wanted to go into after retiring from the game?
No, not at all. No. I used to hate journalists. I hated talking to the media. I didn't mind talking to the media, but you just knew that they were trying to get a story out of you. So you come across quite boring and dour because you don't want to give anything away. You don't want to dish your teammates. You don't want to dish your manager by saying the wrong thing. Sometimes if you're younger, you might say a few things being a bit naive, but then you learn from it. And especially up in Glasgow, you have to be very careful with the media. So, and then as a player, you look at the papers. Some people play, so they do. They look at the ratings, what they're giving them. If you get a dodgy 5, you're like, that I don't like him anymore. But it's quite a bit of a buzz, really. And then out the blue, I got a phone call from Greg O'Keefe, Again, I'm not one for answering my phone really, but I answered the phone and he just said, look, there's a column, it's been, I can't remember who left now, I think it might have been Ian Snowden. There's a piece available, do you want to do it? And I said, well, not really, it's not my cup of tea. And he said, just give it a go. And then, it's dead easy. I was like, well, is it? I didn't want to be a player I know how hard it is being a player. I know what the difficulties is of, you don't know everything. Fans obviously want the best of every player, but you don't know the ins and outs of what the managers told them to do. You probably listen to what pundits on Sky say and think they're right, and sometimes they are, but the manager might have said them to play a certain way and they're getting stick for that. Yeah. And stuff maybe in private life and stuff. So I know how difficult it is. So I didn't want to be one of them sort of go into that punditry way. But then, as soon as I started, I just turned into a fan. I put that to one side. I've still got to be mindful of what it's like being a player, but I know what fans expect. I know what fans' minimum requirements are. Yeah. So, if the players aren't doing it, I will dig them out, because I'll be digging them out if I was still playing. If they were a teammate, I'll be saying it to them, to the face in the changing room. So it's not much different what I do in my column, but when they play well and when they do well, I get the right results. They need the plaudits as well. So it's something I've been enjoying quite a lot. I've grew into it. So I'm really, really enjoying it. Just obviously lockdown was a bit difficult. You can't go to the game. So the same, most of the game, last obviously few games of the season, you watch it on telly and, it's hard to be probably, so it is a bit difficult, but, it's something I really enjoyed. The agency side of things, again, sort of out the blue, I got asked to sort of help and consult the local agency, and I thought, well, it's not really my cup of tea. But then you start meeting the players, you meet the parents, and then you feel you've got this sort of experience you can pass down to them, because
take you back all time.
Yeah, and coaching was never sort of going to be for me. I was going to go down that route, and I just knew it was not me. But this was a new way of sort of working hand in hand with someone closely, like 1v1, and giving them your guidance and your experience, and to also speak to the parents a lot, being like an agent, and the pitfalls, but what to look out for and what not to get sucked into, and all you've got to do is try and give every tool you can possibly to your players for them to go out and express themselves, and hopefully they'll have a great career, whatever level themselves, and get the best out of their ability. And that's all I'm basically trying to do now. It wasn't sort of reaching out to bring players through. It's just the phone started ringing, and parents contacting, some players contact ex-players got to retire quite early. They needed help. Even though they're old and wise enough themselves, they've probably been used to agents doing a lot of things for them, and quite say lazy. But then that was the way it was back then. So it's a different way about going about it. It's about watching a young kid and develop, being a man off the pitch as well. But all realising he's still a young boy. And you've got to put every effort he can into the game, into football, to get the benefits out of it. And that's what I'm just. Yeah, it's just being a mentor for them, really. Agents is not really that sort of thing I'd really like be stuck to. It's my sort of consultancy of being around, being a mentor for the parents and the player themselves, and give them every advice possible and let them choose. I'll give them my advice and let them choose, and make their own career for themselves, instead of sort of being dictated to like many agents have in the past.
Fantastic. So finally, the podcast is centered around going the match. So with every podcast we're doing, I want to end by asking, what are your top 3 favourite matches you've been to? Well, obviously in your case that you played in. So I know you'll have, I'd imagine you have quite a few to pick from there.
So the top, oh God, right. I'd probably have to say Everton '95. I was gonna say one of playing in the Anfield last time we won at Anfield, but going as a fan, there was '95. Obviously, my first sort of FA Cup final. Yeah. I missed '84. I was young, so it was '95 winning the FA Cup final, and just watching the Blues, win that FA Cup against a brilliant Man United side, and Big Nell was fantastic on that day. That'll have to be in my top 3. it's number one would have to be when I was playing. Would have to be the Helicopter Sunday, the final day of when we won the league for Rangers, where we were playing catch up for the last 4 or 5 games of that season against Celtic. Celtic just needed to win the league, and we needed to win to sort of pile the pressure on. We won, and Celtic failed to do that, and the helicopter turned round and the green ribbons come off and the blue ones come on, and going out celebrating afterwards with still my kit on.
It's iconic, that really, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It's unbelievable that people still talk about it today, and probably many years to come. But it was that so excited to get back to Ibrox and see the fans. We played away from home, and we got back to Ibrox, and there was thousands fans inside waiting for us to come back. And many of the lads didn't even get a shower. We just threw our suits on, and we still had our kit underneath, and we just wanted to get back to the atmosphere on the bus going back to Ibrox. That was fantastic. That's got to be my number one.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did I say before? 95. It's so difficult. It could be the Anfield one, but then you won't be happy with that. I'd probably have to say my first trophy as a professional. It probably wasn't the best of games, but personally for myself, just the way it was, the way I got injured from Rangers.
That must have been great to feel like you were writing, you're writing your name in Rangers history as well.
Yeah, and it took a while. I've been there for a couple of years. My injury set me back, and I just didn't think it was ever going to happen. I've missed a double, I missed the treble, and then I'm thinking, when's it going to be my turn? And it's probably, as I was saying before, going on that pitch and getting the applause of the fans, because I've been a part of it. Yeah. And that's probably been my first silverware as a proper professional. As a kid, you'd have medals coming all over the place for winning all kinds of things, but the ones that you turn professional for is the ones that you're always going to remember for many years to come for your family. So I'll have to put that game in as the League Cup, and it's just a League Cup, but it's my first one. So it still means so much. It makes you hungry again to get more. And luckily enough, I got the league at Rangers, the helicopter one, but then also the PSV title as well, which it's obviously a good thing to look back on now.
Brilliant. So before you go,
I'm gonna wake up tonight, aren't I? Thinking about other games that I should have said. There'll be so many going into my head. But off the top of my head, they were the first 3 that came to me.
So before you go, mate, I just want to say a massive thanks for giving up your time and coming on and giving me the opportunity to have a word with you today and go through your life being a fan, and then obviously coming through your career and then what you're doing now with the Echo. So just a massive thank you.
Oh, no problem at all. No, enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, mate. Cheers. Yeah. If you haven't already, please subscribe, follow, and share, and of course, leave a 5-star rating.